And it shows you it's recording, and it counts down. You have a total of 20 minutes. When it's done, it'll stop. You'll just come over here and hit OK again. And it'll pick back up and start over.
In the corner.
So that's not...
There it is.
Actually, you're almost around this time, so we'll still keep back some funding, but at the end of the fiscal year is when those monies are released, and then the LOBs and staff offices get together and decide what priorities to use that funding.
Obviously, Congress doesn't have a crystal ball to predict what will happen each year. Where do the emergency funds for the hurricanes come from?
So when we have an event like that or something that happens like that, often have floods and those types of things, typically what we're told is to track it in Regis, our cupping system, so Delphi can have a record of the project and task is usually what we're given, and Delphi project and task for any costs associated with any type of storm, hurricane, fires, floods, or whatever that is. And I think that go forward, they understand because we can track it and we can say this is what caused that. Also, another reason for doing that, and that's changed over the years with Delphi, was that they can now go and ask for the funding through Congress because they can easily identify we actually obligated this much money against this event. So that's why it's so important when you're provided a project and a task for something specific like that, we track those things correctly. So we're providing accurate information if we need to have the money, yes. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry that we had to make an adjustment for guest races today, but I'm glad to see folks come out for this. And we wanted to welcome you to the Business Services Group. The first thing I wanted to talk about, though, was that we've been ridiculed quite a bit in BSG about the spring event, of how we're a small group. So you can the BSG, this is our group in BSG. We're the smallest group of the service center. However, we're very strong. And we do a lot of great things, especially when it comes to kickball, you know, all these different events, and we were really excited about the event. So we decided that we were going to create our own trophy. We were third place, so I wanted you to know it's a little trophy, but we are third place. So we're very proud. So I know PRG has a big trophy. This is our trophy of BSG. So we are very excited about it. So David just So anyway, this is our business services group.
Is that bronze or gold?
It's gold.
Bronze.
Plated. Gold plated.
A lot of pressure.
So again, that's our business services group. And Tony, go to the next slide. So a couple things I wanted to share with you first, and after I talk, then each of the TMs will come up, is that we, across the 3 BSGs, we came up with our own mission statement and our own vision. So our mission is to provide timely business consulting products and services that promote the achievement of the ATO mission overall. So I wanted you to be aware of that. Our vision is we partner with the ATO service units in the effective and efficient management of resources. We foster accountability and responsible stewardship of FAA assets. We collaborate with stakeholders to optimize our support of the ATO service units. Okay, and with that, the next slide. Okay, Daryl said this alone. So in business services, we interact with external and internal customers. So our internal customers are those that are in the green, and those are the other groups within the service center: OSG, PRG, QCG, and ASG. So we have a lot of connectivity within those groups. We actually manage the service center budget on Kevin's team, so we do that as well. And the squares are the external customers that we mostly deal with in headquarters, how we interact and connect with those organizations as well within BSG. Next one. So this is our organizational structure. There's 3 teams in BSG, and BSG is usually known as finance, but there's more than that. we have a material management team that Tanya is over that manages the FSEP, material management, travel, procurement, and then real estate business cases, KSN. Trish is on one of the finance teams, the tech ops support, ATS support, and also we have an analysis team, financial analysis team. And then Kevin's team has the F&E, Service Center, Reimbursable, and NISC. And at some point, one of you has probably interacted with one of the folks on those teams. So this is BSG as a whole. Okay? So what I wanted to do is go ahead and introduce Kevin Stower, who is the F&E team manager, F&E NISC Reimbursable Service Center team manager, and one of the finance teams, one of the two finance teams. And he's initially going to go over the budget flow for you from top to bottom, and then begin conversation about his team and their functions. Okay?
Afternoon, everyone. So before I start, I just want to thank PRG and David Cottle's graciousness for allowing us, me in particular, to borrow their first place trophy. So I was really excited about that, and I thought it would be really good for my family to actually see what a first place trophy looks like. And so the other night I brought it home to my wife and son Jake. And so I want to preface this by stating that I don't condone this type of behavior. And this is really out of character for my son. He's usually a really mild-mannered child. He's a good-natured boy. But when I explained to him that PRG came in first place and BSG came in third, he got extremely upset. So I want to apologize in advance. I did the best I could trying to repair the first place trophy, but my son kind of had a tantrum, and so I take
Good sportsmanship. We'll sign him up in P&R.
Thank you, David. So I'm just going to go over the budget flow a little bit. And there's never really a normal federal budget year. But what we almost know for certain is that a budget probably won't be passed in time for October 1st. This is the beginning of every fiscal year. Congress has passed the budget on time only 4 times since 1977. So this upcoming year, especially with the elections coming up in November, we do anticipate having a CR, at least one, maybe a couple. After the elections, we do anticipate having a continuing resolution until at least the lame duck Congress is out and the new Congress is in session. So probably till at least the second quarter of fiscal year 17 before we get a full appropriation. But every fiscal year, the House and the Senate, they pass their version. The House usually goes first. They do their House resolution, and they pass their bill. And then the Senate, they pass their bill for the upcoming fiscal year, usually around the springtime. And then they get together and they have a conference. And they try to negotiate differences to work towards passing the appropriation bills. And there's 12 appropriation bills in all in the federal government. And once passed, it goes to the president to be signed. And FAA is part of the Department of Transportation, and we're part of the THUD bill, which is Transportation, Housing, Urban Development. In fiscal year 16, we had 3 short-term expense CRs, and before a full-year appropriation was passed in December of last year. FAA, we received $16.3 billion in fiscal year 16. That's part of the overall federal budget of $4.1 trillion. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But then once you start breaking things down, and I'll go over that a little bit also later with ATO and how we fit in to FAA. But of the $4.1 trillion, the majority of it's mandatory, meaning there's not an appropriation process. That money is mandated to be spent on programs such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those types of things. And also, then you have defense. So you have $1.1 trillion, and then defense makes up a little bit over $600 billion. So then you have all the agencies fighting for around $500 billion, trying to get a piece of the pie. And FAA, they have 4 colors of money. They have operations, facilities and equipment, which is F&E, research, engineering and development, ED, and airports. And so operations makes up this year approximately $9.9 billion of the budget of $16 billion. F&E makes up $2.9 billion. RED's a small program, but very important. It's $166 million. And although they're often overlooked, they sometimes forget airports makes up $3.3 billion of the budget, and that goes towards a lot of the great airports. So ATO's budget pretty much makes up all of FAA's ops budget, ATO's ops budget. ATO ops budget this year was $7.5 billion. So that's 76% of the overall ops FAA budget. But just like the overall federal budget with mandatory programs and discretionary programs, discretionary funding, of course, of that 7.5, the majority of it's already spoken, right? So you have, depending on the fiscal year, you have between 72 and 73% for salaries and benefits. You also have already appropriation type funding that's already in appropriation language, type, like contract towers. You have the administrator's reserve. You have corporate assessments. And then every year we're mandated to lapse at least 0.1% of our overall appropriation. So for Eastern Service Center, you wonder, well, in every fiscal year, well, we got a full-year appropriation signed in December. Why is it taking so long for the Service Center to receive our full-year funding? Why haven't we received it? And because that's just part of the process. It actually, after it gets approved by Congress and signed by the President, and then it has to go to OMB, they have to sign an apportionment and approve for all 4 of our appropriations in FAA. But before it goes to OMB, it has to get approval from the department. Office of Secretary of Transportation, which is their budget arm of DOT. It has to go to them first, and then it goes to OMB. And so sometimes getting an apportionment can take some time, approved by OMB. And although we are appropriated funds, we are not allowed to actually spend the funds until we receive a full apportionment. And so once we get an apportionment signed for the 4 appropriations, 4 colors of money, the headquarter budget office issues allowances to the lines of business and staff offices. And ATO, just like the other lines of business, they receive their 4-year allowance. And then those allowances are split between the 7 service units, one of them being us, which is support AJB. And in turn, they allocate money towards us, towards the service centers and their other organizations inside AJB. And so lastly, the funding is then allocated to the 3 service centers. And then Eastern Service Center allocates it, funding to the director and to the 5 groups. And so then we go about managing our requirements throughout the year as for the service center. And so BSG provides financial oversight and management for the service center and for our customers. And that's where we come in, and that's where our teams come in. So first off, I just want to state that my 4 teams, they've gone through a lot of transition. I have 9 federal employees currently and 1 contractor. And of those 9 federal employees, 6 months ago, they were either not here, they just came on board to one of my teams, or they were in a different role. And so I'm really proud of the 4 teams coming together and being able to work together as a team. I think it's forced all of us to work together even more so to get everything that we need to get accomplished and actually to even go above that. And all 4 of my leads, it's a new role in the last 6 months. It's a new role for all of them. And like I said, the majority of the team is new also. But the F&E team, facilities and equipment, comprises of Michelle Rowland, Chad Brown, and Shantae Clifton.
Boyd.
What did I say?
Brown.
Chad Boyd. I almost said Tim. But they are responsible for the execution and formulation for the engineering services group. And that's including reviewing, forecasting, analyzing, reconciliation, doing your spend plans, financial reporting. We meet weekly with them and brief ES management. We work with their technical leases and closely with Tanya's team, the MM&P team, and she'll talk a little bit more about that when she comes up, for the validation of technical leases before a PR is initiated for renewal. We also do project authorizations daily, PAs. We pull the F&E project, the PAs from Delphi and validate the data and send the PRGs, PIMs, that data every single working day. We provide weekly Activity 5 reports. We have bi-weekly overtime reports, which was just actually overhauled by the team, by the 3 members of the team. Engineering services managers were very pleased with this report, and it's just one of the things that, and we're also meeting with all, our leads are meeting for all of BSG. Our leads are meeting with each other to try to figure out ways and to how they do things better than us and to incorporate that. And it's just part of the overall effort that Max started with the initiatives. And so the overtime report is just a continuation of that. And there's other reports that we're in the process of improving as well. And so next is the service center team. And it's a lean and efficient team of Alan Burney and Daniel Murphy. It also provides execution and formulation for the Eastern Service Center funds. Service Center receives two types of funding, two colors of money, operations and F&E. Approximately $6.5 million of ops and $275,000 F&E funds in support of F&E travel. We also do the reconciliation. So any money that's actually spent in the Service Center, we do all the fund certification in-house for travel and purchase. We also support SysOps in their budget, and we help stand up OCO. And when I mean stand up, I don't mean their actual organization. I just mean we worked tirelessly last year working with the codes, getting the right routing, etc. There was a lot involved in setting up a new organization, and also helping them with their conferences and with the NIST team, with the NIST contractors, and so a lot went into that. And next is the reimbursable team, and that's I was talking to David earlier, and what he said is about my son going over his PRG. You know, I do heed advice, especially when it's good advice. So Betty's originally from PRG. Steve Hardy is originally from PRG. I'm sure, David, that a couple other members will be coming on the BSG. But the reimbursement.
I'm reviewing the spring event, though, just to make sure we're...
Wow.
So far, you have. So I want to thank you. There's financial oversight for all the reimbursable agreements in Eastern Service Area. And so the reimbursable team, they track, report, and analyze for ops and F&E agreements. These agreements total over $105 million per year. They ensure the accuracy of the financial data sheets for new agreements. Submit PA requests for incremental funding and to move funds between projects. And also to be coordinator and liaison with accounting, AFO1, and the headquarters budget, ABP. Our stakeholders, obviously, are Air Traffic Services, ATS, private sponsors, and some of the services that the reimbursable team does is they provide new requirements and updating existing requirements. One of the key things that they've worked on over the last couple of years and previously really emphasized, and we emphasized as a team, is really managing overruns of projects. And so Eastern Service Center, they have made great strides in being able to limit the overruns for the projects. And the next team is the NIST team. And it's those of you that just want to know. It's National Airspace System Integration Support Contract. So we're doing a quiz later, so that'll be one of the questions. And so we have Steve Hardy and Michelle Scott, and they also are a lean and efficient team. They provide and develop task order management for the Service Center for engineering services. They provide GTI, which is Government Technical Interpreters training and performance evaluation training. They review the metrics for the inclusion in task orders. And they maintain level of funding for all task orders and reconciliation of all task orders. We are doing a briefing for the engineering service managers this upcoming Monday. It's about period performance and the bona fide need role. We're also planning on doing that for the service center GTIs as well. There's been a change in policy. I shouldn't say a change in policy. The policy's always been there. But there's actually now been an enforcement of the actual policy and just normal contracting roles when it comes to period performance. And so it affects the service center and engineering services. And so we will be scheduling that soon for the GTIs as well. And so NISC, we have 21 task orders across ESA, 77 subtasks. That comprises of 71 employees. And we train and oversee 32 GTIs. And the total valuation of the NIST contract that Steve and Michelle are responsible for is approximately $14 million per year. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to the other arm of the financial team in PSG, Tricia Olson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi. So I have 3 teams as well. I have the Tech Ops financial team, and I have the Air Traffic Services financial team. The newest team I have is the financial analysis team, and on each team I don't have very many, but we're growing. On my Tech Ops team I have Nancy Johnson, Susan Husky, Mary Jane Dorsey, and Denise Austin. On my Air Traffic team I have Linda Nelson, Miranda Kendricks, Deandre Gresham, and Cindy Patterson. And my newest team, which is in its infancy, is Jennifer Thornton. So all 3 teams do financial. My Tech Ops and my Air Traffic Services team are responsible for budget execution and formulation. And they both have a budget. It's a little different. Tech Ops is like $83 million for the operations of Tech Ops. And Air Traffic Services, it's about probably, I have 2 directors, north and south. So it's a little, I want to say about $12 million together in their budget. But majority of what Tech Ops does is in support of the NAS. And we also manage cash awards as well as PCS for Tech Ops. The same thing on the air traffic side. We do that as well as we manage cash awards, PCSs on top of our other object budget. The analysis team, well, it's in its infancy. We haven't really stood up yet, but we're working towards having the 3 service areas have the same type of analysis across the service area. So probably early fiscal year 17, I may have another couple members on the analysis team, and it will be in support of analysis for Tech Ops and Air Traffic Services. So I think that's about it. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Tanya. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I like to say that this is probably one of my favorite things to do. And that's talking about the business services group as well as the material management procurement team. So I have the pleasure of being the manager for the material management procurement team, as we affectionately call it, MMP. And so the MMP, we manage and have oversight for a minimum of 10 programs, so roughly 10 diverse programs. And the material management procurement team, we're broken up into 4 sub-teams. And what I want to do, just a little bit different, is I want to talk about what we do and a little bit of why we do it and how it impacts our service units and our customers, our partners in the service units. So our first team is the Facility Service and Equipment Profile Team, commonly known as FSEP. So as you know, the NAS is very complex. the FSEP team actually manages a database that has an inventory of all NAS equipment that we own, maintain, certify, and inspect in the NAS. We're talking about 30,000 records that we have and the team maintains. And on the team is Teresa Carter, Timothy Dobbs, and Christine Sembridge, who's a new addition. I think Christine is the only one here today. Wait, Christine, where's my thing like that? So, but within this database, a little bit about it is, and why we do it, is if we don't have the record in FSEP, the technical operations workforce cannot maintain their maintenance logs. So we have to put it or approve it within FSEP in order for them to have a log, a record, a profile. So just remember that, a profile, in order to log their equipment logs, the maintenance, their outage, everything. And so what essentially the record is, it's a profile of that system. It's the configuration. We work with Brenda Driver a lot in planning and requirements, and it's a profile of that equipment. It tells you the configuration, if it's a ILS, an outer marker, a glide slope, a localizer. It not only tells you that, it also tells you the configuration. And so the technicians need that in order to log. So if it's not in FSEP, they cannot do a maintenance log for it. So that's just a little bit about what we do, just a small little bit of what we do in the FSEP program and why we do it. So it's a big impact to technical operations if we don't have the information in the system. And of course, accuracy is important, which is, we're always striving for that. And my second team is the material management and travel team. On that team, and I think I have everyone here in the room on that team, Kelvin Leak. It's like Kelvin Leak, Anthony Graham, and Jillian Neal. So on this team is very diverse. So for a long time, Kelvin was the only one on this team working many programs. This team handles field spares. And so field spares is actually the inventory or the spare parts for the NAS equipment, so they can have it online for quick restoration if needed. So it's very important that they have an accurate inventory of their field spares. So with that, what we have majority is program oversight, and right now we're kicking off a new portion of it called, we're trying to do a baseline inventory, because it hadn't been maintained for a while. So we had a lot of, and it's a financial thing also, because we had a lot of folks who, the technicians were ordering parts when they possibly could have the spares on site. So it's important. Why we do it is because we want to make sure that there's an accurate inventory out there to assist with the restoration of the sites and the equipment. So that's the field spares. We have store credit. Well, Tricia's team actually maintains the financial portion of the store credit program. But on the MMP team, what we do is Kelvin actually has oversight of a critical program that we also monitor. Also with that is we have oversight of GOVs. So what we're doing pretty much right now with GOVs, they have a lot of effort with right-sizing GOVs for the NAS, and they're also looking at alternative fuel vehicles. So that's two big initiatives that Kelvin's been working with the folks in headquarters and ALO, so that we can get the information. So a lot of what we do is sending out policy and new requirements. So that's kind of like some of the high-level efforts that we're working on right now. On the team also is travel. So travel, when ET rolled out, you probably saw emails from myself or Anthony Graham, who's been great. Right now, he's my POC for travel. What most folks probably don't know is, so travel, you probably see the E2 side, and Anthony works a lot with that, rolling out policy and changes and new requirements or just information. We try to keep everyone in the loop. There was a lot of glitches when that was rolled out at the headquarters level, but we've been working through it. There's been a lot of success there. But also what Anthony does is anyone who travels internationally, they have to have a country clearance. So any type of international travel request, and we get probably 5 a week, Anthony, or more. We get a lot. You probably, there's a, down in Miami, there's an SSC that's continuously traveling to Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, all kinds of other locations. We get Cuba. Well, all those countries, if you're traveling internationally, you need to have a country clearance. So Anthony receives the form. There's a specific form, and we get that process so that the traveler can get a country clearance. You have to do it ahead of time, and it's actually issued by the State Department. And that's so they have also awareness that, we're not going where we shouldn't if there's any challenges. And also the agency knows where their employee travelers are at all times. So Anthony is instrumental. He gets all those processed. And Jillian, she's newest to my team, and she's back there. She's on detail right now. What Jillian's working on right now, which is very critical also, again, to the NAS, is we process every land lease for NAS equipment. It's called the Technical Lease Program. So we work with ALO, and this David Wilrich, we've been through some of we've been through some things with us, but we, for land leases, buildings, any lease that it houses our NAS equipment. So we process all those and of course, the important part about that is we want to ensure that we maintain those leases because it's critical because NAS equipment's in there, so we don't want anything crazy happening with the lessors, and there are challenges too. And ALO, our real estate department, usually works those issues. So, and I think I have covered everything for the material management travel, or mostly, all the high-level ones. So we go to the procurement team. So I have Brenda and Ruby. Ruby's here. Suzette Wright has a purchase card, and who is a approver, a fund certifier, a reviewer. They're put into the PCPS system, and currently Brenda and Ruby manage that database. And every cardholder, I think right now we have about 3,100 cardholders. No, we have 2,100 cardholders right now, and that's not including the approvers and fund certifiers. Either Brenda or Ruby adds you to that system correctly. Yeah, because that's very important. So, and they do, and once you're in there, it has the right flow so we can, make sure our partners and the service unit and our stakeholders are able to go ahead and make those purchases, especially those critical purchases for the NAS. And so that's very important. So that's another why we do what we do. Also on the team, we manage wireless. So all mobile devices, we have smartphones, which iPhones, we have iPads, we manage the Wi-Fi, we manage satellite. We have a lot, So we have, and there we have about 3,100 to 3,500 devices we manage. So anyone who needs a replacement, a new phone, they have to go through Ruby right now is the primary, so she processes all those requests. So you have to go, if you want a device or have any questions, you have to go through our team. So we're the only ones who can actually process those types of transactions for ESA. And let's see, interviews, I got most of that from the procurement mobility. Another team we have is the real estate business cases, and Kayla that So the real estate business cases, what we're doing there is that's specifically for if anyone is looking either to move into new space or perhaps looking to downsize their space, and that's a big initiative now with the agency trying to reduce the number of leases as well as maybe the footprint of lease space that FAA is occupying right now. So look to us to do a case if they want to reutilize the space. So David actually, they work with David through that, and he works also as a liaison to headquarters and ALO to make sure that those requests are, expedited or they get to the right stakeholder. And also what he's doing also, he's the KSN administrator. His KSN support is on my team, as well as database development. David develops databases for my team. Usually I'm like, hey, David, this is what I'm looking for. And I'm like, hey, and he just takes it and runs with it. So it's like reports and Access and Tableau. So he works on those for our customers. He defines a few reports for us that took a long time, like weeks for us to break down and prepare. And then now we can go to our customers quicker because he's simplified the process. So, but that's it, very high level of who we are on MMP and what we do, and a little bit of why we do it, which is the most important thing, is why we're here. So we never try to lose sight.
Just one real quick thing. In my excitement to tell David about us being able to procure Betty over to our team, I failed to mention 2/3 of the rest of the team. So Teresa Robinson, she helps us. She's a support contractor, and also Lisa Hall, who just actually joined the reimbursement officially next week. So just wanted to say that. Okay, so what type of funding does PSG not manage? Ops, F&E, RED, reimbursables. They do not have RED funding.
So, controller chairs are purchased with operational funds. True or false?
True.
Okay, so hopefully this is an easy one. What is B?
So in closing, we wanted to let you know that we do have a BSG KSN. You have the teams are all listed out there, and if you have any questions, you know who to call in those teams. And also, we would like to know if you have any questions for us. David.
I just want to talk about the partners that you had earlier. And as you were going through the briefing, I mean, out of 11 teams, I think, that I counted, there's only one that we don't tie into in some way from PNR that I know of. Maybe that one is out there somewhere that I don't even know of. So that's just it's one of the things about the collaboration required between all the groups for the purpose of partners. It's not just an external look, but also internal, what we do together.
Right. There's a lot of that. Thank you. Yes.
I'm not sure if I am remembering the terminology correctly, but it's something that Kevin mentioned. You said something about like the administrator's reserve or something like that. What the heck is that?
That's money that's that the administrator. It's usually typically around the same amount every fiscal year, but that money is not actually allocated to any of the LOEs or staff offices. Administrator priorities, It's also used for if there's pop-ups, some high-level, high-status funding that's required for a project that we weren't aware of at the beginning of the fiscal year, that money would be able to cover. And it's usually, the administrator usually releases those funds.
Let's record there. It looks blurry, but it will record. But I gotta get a shot of the screen though. I want to make sure I get a good view of the screen. And it looked like it's so. Maybe when the lights go out.